Henry and Gordon were growing restless. It was only morning, but James was grumbling non-stop. He was to lend assistance for Ginty in the yards for the morning and shunt trains around for the engines and was succeeding in letting everybody know about it. You know, James, you really seem to loathe helping others with the workload unless there's no trucks involved. Rubbish, Henry. I've probably shunted more trucks on this railway than the both of you ever have. Huh, you couldn't handle pulling trucks for days straight if the railway depended on it. You know, that reminds me, little James, that you've always had accidents with any rolling stock one way or another. There's the bootlace incident, those tar wagons, almost falling off a bridge, not to mention your first day here. You seem to just avoid your triumphant moments. So, covering the express for Gordon when he took the loop line or tackling the most troublesome trucks on the entire railway isn't triumphant? For one, I bet you were just chosen because I wasn't facing the correct direction anymore, and two, you basically undid that deed by crashing multiple times in the future. Now, if you excuse me, I have a train of people who rely on me waiting at the station. Goodbye. James hissed angrily and hurried up to the yard himself. Oh, watch it, Rusty Red! You might want to tone it down a little bit, James. An accident may happen at that rate. Anyways, after you're done with this lot, expect me to come by with some tankers that need to be refilled. Be right back. James tried speeding up his pace anyway and bumped the trucks hard. Wait, we should not be moving. Stop! Oh, no. Oh! I am so dead. Oi, what happened there? That was against the instructions. After the mess was sorted out, James was tasked to bring the trucks to the work sheds near Groven's Gate. The NWR sheds used the lines near the Skarloey railway sheds as a rolling stock workshop. All James could think about on the way was what Gordon and Henry had said. It wasn't long until he arrived. What will the Fat Controller say? As he marshaled the trucks, he heard a familiar voice. Hello there, James. Care to explain that mess there? It was Skarloey, sitting on the adjacent line. James greeted him and then explained. I see. You know, you shouldn't let other engines get to you like that, or let it interfere with your work. Yeah, I know, it's just, well, sometimes I feel like I've not done much for the railway. I mean, you and Reneus did some hard labor back in the day. But meanwhile, I've just been involved with lots of confusion. Oh, don't be so hard on yourself. What you need to think about is how people and engines alike depend on your work efforts, goods or passengers. You know, that reminds me of a story that Duke told me. Do you have some time? Plenty. And so the little old engine began. The Skarloey Railway was growing in traffic size, but the engines were easily coping with it. It had only been a couple of months since Duke was found and restored, and he was growing fond of his new railway and new friends. However, like Skarloey and Reneus, his age tended to show at times. One early morning, Duke was slowly waking up after his driver had arrived. We mustn't delay the first train of the day. Indeed, it wouldn't be dignified. Oh, please. Duke chuckled and puffed away. Once he'd collected his train, he had to wait at the station for the signalman to finish setting up for the day. Typical, I managed to get ready before the signalman, and to think I was trying to be early. Impertinence. Eventually, the guard blew his whistle, and the old engine quickly set off. But he couldn't help feeling a bit stuffy in his funnel. Now this is more like it. We're sure to reach the top station early. But Duke hadn't bargained for the uphill part of the journey. It caught him off guard, and he struggled to fight the incline. It'll certainly take me a while to get used to these steep hills. But before he could say anything else, he began wheezing alarmingly, and it became harder to move. His driver stopped the train. His crew carefully inspected him. I think, concluded the fireman, that there's something blocking your funnel. Most likely excess soot and ashes. An easy fix, but will have to be towed up to the top station first. Rheneas, who had spent the night at Rheneas Station, gladly assisted Duke, and took him to the top station with his train in tow. I say, you managed to pull me well. How did you keep going? Well, I suppose after years of pushing myself, it's a habit. But here's my tip. Always keep your trains moving until it reaches a station. Our friends and customers rely on us after all. Duke agreed and had a lot to think about when Rheneas shunted him out of the way. When Duncan and Sir Handel heard about the news later that day, they laughed and chanted loudly, much to the annoyance of Peter Sam. Ha! Fancy old Grandpuff losing a battle to a hill. Couldn't be me. You see, my special wheels make sure of that. They only prevent you from causing your own sorts of trouble. And didn't you stall in the dead center of a viaduct, Duncan? Well, at least I could have kept going. Duke would never back down. He taught me that on the Midsodor. Just wait and see. By this time, Duke had arrived back and the teasing continued, but he simply ignored it and went to sleep. Later that afternoon, Duncan was enjoying a rest outside Skarloey Station when his driver interrupted. Look, sharp old boy, Skarloey's been delayed. We'll have to cover his train home for him. Oh, come on, it was having such a nice train too. What about? That's confidential. Alright then. Oh, the things I have to deal with on this railway. Why can't an engine just dream about being a pop star? As everyone got into the coaches, Duncan complained dreadfully, but, as he'd learned once before, he tried not to show it to the passengers. Alright, let's get this over with. As he trundled along, Duncan tried to get the journey done as fast as possible, and once he reached the top of the biggest hill, he used it to increase his pace. What he didn't know was that there was a section of jarred rails that Rusty and the maintenance crew hadn't gotten to yet, but by the time he did, it was too late. What the heck? Oh crap! Oh no! No! Luckily, nobody was hurt, but the train was stranded. News traveled down the line and Mr. Percival acted quickly. Sir Handel, I need you to help Duncan. He's derailed with a passenger train and we could use you to derail him. Right away, sir. Meanwhile, maybe I could fall asleep. And never mind. Fear not, my dear Duncan, for as I, Sir Handel the Great, have come to save the day. Watch out! Ah! Yup, and he derailed. Oh, thrilling. How absolutely thrilling. Suppose I'll phone Croven's Gate. Again. So, ever thought about being a pop star? News traveled to Croven's Gate once again. Alright, engines, sorry to bother you again, but it seems that Sir Handel needs some rescuing himself. If anyone can lend a buff, leave it to me, sir. I'll manage. Thank you, Duke. You best hurry. Attaboy, Duke. And so Duke confidently made his way to the rescue. Shh, I think someone's coming. Oh, come on. How cliché. Sir Handel wasn't too badly derailed, so pulling him back onto the line was pretty easy. Then, with the skill of Duncan's crew and Duke pulling, Duncan was levered back onto the tracks as well. And then Duke, gently pulling Duncan and Sir Handel, pulled the train over the damaged section of track. It's up to us now, Duke, warned his driver. Looks like we'll have to take the train home. Then let's not waste any more time. The train was set into position, some of Sir Handel's coal and water was shared into Duke, sand was poured on the rails, and Duke inched his way up to speed with 2 engines and a full train in tow. It was no easy job, and Duke found himself beginning to strain. But then he remembered what Rheneas had said. Keep trains moving. Must keep going. And he struggled on. Up a smaller hill they went as Duke saved his biggest effort for the last incline. Not long after, they reached the top, and Duke grandly towed the cavalcade down the line. Duck was waiting at the station when... Oh, hello, what's this I see? With his last effort, Duke carefully brought the train to a stop in the platform. I apologize about the delay, Duck. There was a hiccup. Or two. Well, you've certainly done a good day's work. Good on you. And Duck puffed respectfully away. The other engines praised Duke happily that night. Imagine, Peter Sam said out loud, an engine with special machined wheels derailing while on a rescue mission. Couldn't be me. I guess you really did go on forever, Duke. Duke smiled. Oh, well, all you need is a little perseverance, and you're good as gold. As for Sir Handel and Duncan, they stayed awfully quiet that night, thinking of the day's events. Skarloey and Rheneas knew exactly what they were thinking. And so, finished Skarloey, they apologized the next day, and all was well. Now, what Duke learned was to always try your best, no matter what the situation, and to not let others' words discourage you. James was amazed. Thank you for telling me that story. I think I have a lot to think about now. The pleasure's all mine. All right, James, we're clear to leave. Goodbye, Skarloey. So long. And as the two engines set off back to work, James decided it'd be wise to remind himself to compliment Duke when they next met. Finally finished a new episode. Now for the editing.